Coordinated, episode 294, Spotlight, Adam in Alabama. Greetings, AP coordinators. I'm Karli Suge, school counselor and AP coordinator. Thanks for joining us. It's Monday, September 22nd, 2025. And today we are starting a special series where I get to travel all across the country, virtually, of course, shining the light on AP coordinators and their programs. And we're starting off with Adam Osborn, AP coordinator in Alabama. We're here for tips, tricks, best practices, and in this series, learning more about the people that do this job. AP coordinators, they're just like us. They are us. It's time to do this. Let's go, AP coordinators. It's time to get the podcast queued up and our favorite road trip snacks ready. It's time to get coordinated. Good morning, Adam. Thank you for taking the time to be here today.
Good morning, Karli. I'm happy to be here.
So, first of all, I'm so excited to be meeting AP coordinators across the country. But before I start asking you too many questions, I'd love to know just a little bit more about you. Can you introduce yourself to our coordinated audience?
Absolutely. I'm Adam Osborn. I am a teacher and high school testing coordinator at St. James School in Montgomery, Alabama. Currently at the front end of my fifth year, started in fall of 2021 at that job. And I'm otherwise just the kind of nerd who everybody I think always knew was going to end up an English teacher one day.
Well, I'm going to ask you more about that in a little bit. But as far as your home base, has that always been Alabama, or did you grow up somewhere else?
I grew up in South Louisiana, lived there until I graduated college, but then grad school took me away, and that's actually what eventually brought me to Alabama. I came here for grad school, and they haven't gotten rid of me yet.
That's a good sign. That's awesome. So you just mentioned that you were one of those nerds, your words,
Oh, yes.
that might have always been an English teacher. So did you always know you wanted to be an educator, or how did that come about?
I mean, when I was very young, through elementary school, I was one of those dinosaur kids. So I was really more focused on the sciences. Still really think dinosaurs are very cool. As I got older, sort of like family members thought maybe like law or business, those things that, they tend to kind of think about when you talk a lot. But by the time I was later in high school, I had really gravitated toward the humanities and kind of the understanding that I got of why the world is the way it is and other people in it from, history and English and things like that. And so when I started thinking about doing those in college, I, sort of thought, well, that's going to put me in a classroom of some sort. And sure enough, partway through grad school, it did. And that just felt great. And I stayed there ever since.
That's amazing. So once you found that passion, once you knew that you were going to be an educator, how did you end up at St. James School?
There's a certain amount of serendipity. They were looking for somebody that could teach high school English primarily, at the same time that it was becoming clear that in kind of my previous job, the fit was becoming untenable. It happened that I had a coworker there I was on good terms with, who pointed me towards the position at St. James School and could tell me a little bit about the school and some of the people there. And I landed an interview late in the summer and then had about a week of turnaround before the start of classes was upon us. And I've been running ever since.
Amazing. And we're going to get into specific AP questions, of course, in a little bit. But before we do that, can you tell me just a little bit more about St. James School?
Sure. We're a small independent private school in Montgomery, Alabama, and we have one campus that covers from 2-year-old pre-K all the way up through 12th grade.
Wow.
About 800 students on that campus, about 250 of them are in high school. And for those numbers, we have pretty high participation in like our AP program. Think last year we had 18 courses, a little over 100 students, took a little over 200 exams. So the kind of across the school, that level of participation. We have a small student body that all do a lot of things with a lot of enthusiasm to sort of, keep a variety of programs afloat.
That sounds like a really special place. Thank you for sharing about that. Now, as we move a little bit more into AP, what did you know about the AP coordinator role before you received it, and how did you become the AP coordinator at St. James?
So I was partway into my first school year at St. James before I really understood that AP coordinator was a thing separate from just high school standardized testing coordinator. I kind of had it in my head that I will, order the exams and train the proctors, and then I'll do the next one for the next test. And so, but PSAT, pre-ACT, ACT, and then AP exams at the end of the year. I'll have a lot of practice by then. But turns out that wasn't the case. Before I started at St. James School, was, coming out of all of the, sort of tumult of 2020, and the high school principal and one of the high school counselors had been kind of splitting the AP coordinator job between them, and, getting help from some of the experienced AP teachers. And so I started off, really just kind of like head down on the PSAT in October because it was coming up fast. And then some AP teachers started to ask me about things that I kind of was a little uncertain of and brought up short bias. So I just started flipping through the AP coordinator's manual and realized, oh, this is like the whole AP program, not just the tests. And I got some stuff I got to do. And so got through that first year by the seat of my pants, and then was thankfully a lot more prepared for the position the next year.
Yes, that is so relatable, Adam. I'm sure there are so many people listening that found out that they were the AP coordinator in a similar way. And that is what we do. We just make it work, right? So knowing that part of your journey, I know you mentioned you teach as well as being the testing coordinator at your school. Can you share with us like what your day-to-day looks like when you're not, working on enhancing, building, preparing, and administering your AP program?
Sure. I teach all the regular and honors ninth grade English classes, small schools, so they all come through my classroom. Sometimes I'll also take on a world history period or two, if that's kind of needed with the way the schedule shakes out. And I teach our public speaking elective. So any given day, I have 5 classes in those areas. And then I'm fortunate I have a period of the day that is for testing coordinating, which includes the AP coordinator stuff, as well as the PSAT, NMSQT, the pre-ACT, the ACT, our test prep seminar for our 10th and 11th graders, securing accommodations, handling score reporting, analysis and distribution, all the other things that come with handling standardized testing.
Absolutely. It sounds like you have a lot going on. And I know a lot of our fellow AP coordinators listening can relate to that as well. And knowing all of those responsibilities that you're in charge of, it seems like you're managing all of them. So can I ask maybe your best practice of how you manage your AP coordinator responsibilities in addition to all the other roles at your school?
Yeah, because I'm teaching, I guess it's the testing coordinator that brings me up to a full load, but, otherwise everything comes from classroom teaching. It's really easy for me to get behind if I'm not careful. So after getting flummoxed the first year, interacting with AP online, they have all these robust systems that are, in some cases, kind of broken into different web portals and different login areas. And, they require different permissions and different access codes. They are interacted with in different ways. And the tendency for them to expire and renew at different times and with slightly different rules really caught me flat-footed once or twice. So our school year begins in early August, and then add drop ends at the end of August. So I try to be, on top of course audit and AP Classroom. And sure, I can help the teachers for our AP classes get AP Classroom up and running. I can help the students, figure out how to reset their passwords and get into their accounts and, give them the phone number if they need it. But I try to use that 2/3 of August to make sure everybody has the access they're supposed to have to the parts of College Board's systems that they're supposed to have. And that way I have, that test coordinator period in my schedule where I can, make some calls or send some emails if I don't know what's going wrong or misplaced my access code or used last year's instead because I, labeled them the same. Whatever the thing is that's causing trouble, I have this window where enrollment in AP classes isn't set in stone yet. So there's not that much I can do on that end. And so just prioritizing, making sure that the access is all set up for everyone is really helpful. And our SSD coordinator is extremely good, not only at her job, but also at letting me know proactively who has told her that they don't have something. So I, kind of rely on our experienced, AP staff and teachers to also point out to me when there's something needing doing kind of in that early stretch. And then I don't have to worry about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's a really good point too, is sometimes some of those things are done once a year. So as we're doing it, we go through the whole year, we go through AP administration, and then summer happens and sometimes we forget what our most important priorities are. So thank you for sharing that, because I think that is important to remember and tap into the AP pros at your school and be able to kind of work together to make sure that the beginning of the year runs smoothly. So I hope it is running smoothly for you so far.
So far, so good. Fingers crossed.
I'm glad to hear that. So we all know that the AP coordinator job is a multifaceted position with a lot of moving parts the whole year round, like you just mentioned. Is there a part of the job that you find the most challenging?
Yeah, I know that it's not the case for all schools, but our particular situation is kind of a small school. We don't have facilities that are really appropriate for AP testing. There's not enough space to set the room up like we need to for administering more than one test at a time, or we can't disable the bells in that building because it's on an older system, or this building would be perfect, but the school play has to go somewhere. And, there isn't anywhere else it can go. Things like that, kind of all layer up. We have to test off site, and we have a great relationship with a nearby institution that, are really generous with their space. But this past year with the move to fully digital and hybrid, we had talked to them about being able to use their network, but it turned out that their system administrators and IT professionals weren't on site, and they couldn't get in touch with them reliably. And so we went in for the first day of testing and we're fending for ourselves. So the solution ended up being a trip to the store, and we bought 3 cell network Wi-Fi antennas and some prepaid cards, and just kind of made it through, counted the number of new gray hairs that gave me, but all our students were able to test successfully, which is, the main thing. And it, there's no easy solution because they're not going to have IT people on site this year either. So we're exploring our options, but we don't have any definite answers at this time either. So definitely the most difficult thing, I guess, if I had to sum it up in a word, is logistics.
Yes. And that makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of schools, a lot of AP coordinators that are listening that do have to test offsite. There's a lot of school districts that will test all of their schools in one location. And so just talking through those logistics and jumping through those hoops to figure out what's best for your kids and your student success. And even though they don't, necessarily know all of the things that are going on behind the scenes, they're grateful that they're able to test successfully. So that's amazing. I'm sorry you went through that, but thank you for sharing.
Of course.
And I'm going to move to a happier place now. When we consider all of those moving parts again, do you have a favorite part about being the AP coordinator?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little abstract, but, being able to sort of expand and ensure the wide variety of options are available to our students to, appeal to their interests, to meet them at their level of academic achievement. When I was in high school, I switched schools to have better options for the kinds of classes that I could take in high school. And, I think that it's important for us to offer as kind of varied and diverse an array of, classes and levels as we can possibly manage. So tracking back, our students are really good about enthusiastically participating to support like a lot of programs at a very small school. And so I'm very keen to do everything I can to offer our students the widest variety of the highest quality classes that we're able.
That is a beautiful answer. I think being able to offer your students the opportunity to take classes and things they're interested in and can find their passions in is such a unique opportunity that we get as educators to kind of introduce students to something that might be something that they enjoy the rest of their life. And we get to kind of introduce them to that. And that is a really cool part of this job. So thanks for that perspective. I appreciate it. My personal favorite part is working with students that aren't necessarily on my caseload. So I'm a counselor. We've been alpha split before, and right now I'm a grade level counselor. So shout out to my 10th graders. I like to say I'm a sophomore this year. But even before that, being the AP coordinator means I get to work with and get to know all AP students and kind of talk with them about their credit opportunities and the classes we offer and all of those things. And graduation is a lot more fun seeing all the students, all the AP students, and knowing that I have that relationship with them. So that feels really special to me too.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that you mention it, I teach freshmen in 4 of my 5 class periods. I sometimes get upperclassmen in public speaking, but being able to continue kind of interacting with and assisting those students as they move up through the years and, become justifiably more focused on their more recent classes and studies. It's nice to still have, kind of some line to tap into to how they're doing and to be a part of, their academic successes.
Yeah, it is cool. So, Adam, now that we're solidly back into the school year, I wanted to ask, do you have a favorite thing about coming back to school, a back to school tradition or event that you look forward to after the summer?
In terms of events, we have a really cool fall festival, but that's in October. So if I'm thinking more like back to school time frame, it's nothing quite so discrete as an event, but there are a great many of my colleagues that are wonderful to be around and to work with. And I don't really get to see them during the summer because everybody's so busy doing the things that they can't do during the school year. So getting to, come back and sit with them at lunch and talk to them in the mornings or after school is a real treat. It kind of feels like, heading back to school when I was in high school, but without quite so much mess.
So true. It's like coming back to see your friends at school. I like that. Well, Adam, thank you so much for coming on the podcast to share about yourself and your AP program. It is truly so nice to hear from other AP coordinators, and it really does make me feel less alone in the process. I'm sure it does for many listening too. So thank you again for being here.
Oh, well, thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully it'll be helpful or at least interesting to some listeners.
Absolutely. So before I let you go, I do have one more final question for you, Adam. What's one thing that you're doing right now for your AP program that keeps you, coordinated?
During the first quarter back to school, I'm making a point of it to tell all our AP teachers, all our administrators, all our counselors about how well our students did on the AP exams back in the spring. They did great. And so we're, celebrating their achievements. It's also affirming and motivational for the people who are helping to make that happen. And it's congratulatory. The students did the hard work, but the, teachers help them get there. And so it helps them to know that what they're doing is having a concrete effect. And it helps to keep me positive and focused on why I'm doing all this when I'm having to track down that one last student who just won't get themselves set up in AP classroom no matter what we do. So I think, is just good to, remind everybody of our students' achievements and, what they can do when we show up for them.
I love that answer so much. Celebrating student success is always important, but being able to kind of rally the troops and, let everyone know that we're thankful for them and our students are thankful for them is a really great place to start the year. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Special thanks to our AP Coordinator Spotlight today, Adam Osborn from St. James School in Montgomery, Alabama. We'll be back next week with an all-new episode. We look forward to talking with you then. And for all our support of AP students, yep, our support, AP coordinators, we are truly good as gold.
Just don't know. I'll say it over and over and over again till I believe it's so. I'm good as gold.
Hey, Abby, question for you.
Ooh, question. Ask away.
What is the one learning opportunity that 100% of AP coordinators enjoy attending because they can engage with their colleagues, ask questions, and feel safe and respected?
Well, so many AP coordinator training opportunities seem to fit that bill. But when I hear engage with colleagues in a safe and respectful environment, that sounds a lot to me like chat with a coordinator.
You're absolutely right. Chat with the Coordinator begins Friday, September 26th and runs through Friday, November 14th.
That's great news. AP coordinators join us every Friday via Zoom for free.
Free fun, free learning opportunities. Count me in.
That's right. Sessions are 1 hour in length, and you, AP coordinators, set the agenda. You can ask any questions you have or sharing best practices.
At 1 p.m. Eastern Time, we have a chat dedicated to brand new AP coordinators.
And at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, we have a topic-specific chat. Topics such as score reports, AP registration and ordering, and more will be covered during these chats.
Join one or stay for multiple. Sign up for every Friday if you'd like. The registration link is in the show notes. We look forward to seeing you.